Fair use and content disclaimer. Views and opinions expressed by the host do not necessarily reflect that of the Psychological Association of the Philippines and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect that of the host, the show, and the organization. Fair use copyright regulation that allows the limited use of copyrighted materials without acquiring permission from the right holders for comment and educational purposes. Views, articles, and images on this episode may contain copyrighted material which has not always been specifically authorized by the copyright owner.
This is being broadcasted to the Teaching Psychology Special Interest Group's social media platforms, when available. If you have any questions for our guests, simply comment on this video and we will try to accommodate all your inquiries. Note that after this broadcast, we may no longer be able to answer your questions. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Live from the Philippines, Dr. Reyes and Professor Monique Muyargas, Chairperson and Co-Chairperson of the Teaching Psychology SIG.
Hello.
Hey, magandang hapon.
Hello. Parang feeling ko may problema yata ako ng technical eme. Naghahang ako, ano? Naghahang ba ako?
Yeah, medyo choppy.
Oo.
Okay.
Sige, I'll be back. Take it away.
So, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. We would like to welcome you this afternoon. This is the first time we're going to have a Saturday webisode, and we're very happy that you are able to join us this afternoon. Sana you're going to enjoy our discussion this afternoon because we are going to have a special guest. We are very happy because it's also nice to have somebody fresh from another SIG. And this afternoon, we're going to talk about a very sinasabi nilang intimidating subject or course kasi bago siyang na ituturo ng ibang mga teachers, and then baka they don't feel as comfortable teaching it. So our guest this afternoon will help us boost up our confidence on how to teach this particular course. But before that, we would like to say hello to our...
Hello!
Ayan na.
I think I'm back. Ayan, okay na ako.
Ayan
ano,
na.
medyo, kasi pag Sabado, hindi, joke lang. Kapag invento ko lang ng hello po mga kasama natin ngayon sa Teaching Psychology Special Interest Group. Pero medyo naloka kasi ako dahil hindi nga ako makapuni.
Okay lang yan. Okay lang yan. Yes.
Yes. So, mag-hello ka na ba? Sorry.
Hindi pa sa ating mga disclaimer muna. As usual, we're going to remind everyone that we are not giving out certificates for our webisodes. This is for free, and this is streamed in our Facebook page and in YouTube. And this time it's live streamed, right? Sa YouTube? Tama ba?
Yes.
Okay. And we would also like to say hello to our viewers this afternoon.
Piliin natin.
Ayan, as usual. We have somebody from Ibondok, tama ba? Watching from Kapakuhan National High School, Division of Northern Samar. Hello!
Hello din again from the homeland of Direk. Hindi pala siya taga Marilao, pero taga Bulacan siya. Hello po sa taga Bulacan.
Oh, yes.
Maraming salamat. Also from Urdaneta City of Pangasinan. Hello po sa inyo. Uy, yung ating co-chairperson at ating guest last time.
Yes, hey,
hello!
Hapon sa imo.
Yes. Meron pa ba? Uy, si ating president. Hello po, Madam President.
Hello. Dahil po sa kanya, meron tayong guest speaker for this afternoon. Thank you, Doc Mark. Thank you.
Doc Mark. And always, thank you for supporting us. No, never ending support ni Doc Mark.
Ayan.
Sige, meron din tayo from Ramon Magsaysay State University in Zambales. And from Imos, Cavite, meron din tayo. Hindi ko na talaga nararamdaman yung ating mga international subscribers.
Bakit gano'n?
Siguro nagpunta sila sa ibang division. Sa ibang SIG. Hindi, ayun. Maraming salamat ulit sa pagpunta nyo. Again, this is a first webisode that we will be holding on a weekend. We usually reserve yung aming mga weekends kasi whole day, parang feeling namin 24 hours na kami nakatutok sa kung saan. Pero, because we love you and our guest also loves you, at least pinagbigyan niya tayo na maisingit sa kanyang busy schedule this afternoon. At first time din, syempre, na magka-problema ako sa internet. I think may may reason yan.
Hindi kasi kailangan tayong boost because it's going to be our last week next week. Oh.
Last week na ba natin next week? Taka nga sandali, ayusin ko muna. Sorry. Ayan. Okay, go. Ayan. Okay na.
Last week na natin, next week, di ba? Our last slated webisodes will be on next week. Ayun.
Yes, and that would be for season 2. Akala mo, umabot tayo ng season 2 ng ganito.
Season 2, I love it.
Oo. Hello po sa inyo from, watching from La Union, si Al Nadwaza Estigoy. Ayan, sige. So, I'm sure then, favorite mo tong topic natin for this afternoon, Monique. Lahat favorite mo. Bakit gano'n?
Kasi wala akong alam, Charet.
Oo, favorite mo tong etong topic natin. Bakit ba natin naisipan tong topic na to? Actually, kasi mahalaga naman siya, no? Hindi naman dahil wala nang gusto lang natin. No? Pero sige, ano ba yung mga reason natin bakit natin binibring in tong webisode na to?
Yeah, because I think this is suggested by Ched, no, to be part of the curriculum already, no, ng psych na degree. So biopsych is kind of like I don't know. I've never taught this course before. A colleague of mine has taught this. Medyo scary nga kasi medyo may pagka, 'di ba? Dual ang kanyang approach, and you have to talk about physiology and all those things. So if you're not really a physiology, biology kind of person, medyo talaga you're gonna be groping in the dark, no? So we would understand that many teachers would need all the help they can get, no? Come first semester, yon.
Ikaw ba, Monique, nung nag-aaral ka ng nung college, may biopsych ka bang?
Wala. Ikaw meron?
Yes, inabutan ko siya. Charot.
Ganun pala.
First time in-offer sa Pilipinas. Charot.
Hindi. Yun?
Napaisip tuloy ako. No, I think it was, mga 2003 when I was in college. No, graduate ako ng 2005. Hindi lang halata. Oo, pero 2005, I graduated in college. And we had biopsych. Ang teacher ko nun, shout out kay Dr. Isabel Milgar. Okay naman yung experience. It's just that, again, it's a very biological, kaya nga biopsych, diba? Parang mas physical siya. So, for me, yung challenge ko nung time na yon is, because it is required, and that's okay lang naman if it's required, I'm not a BS psych person, so I didn't really like the sciences part. So parang medyo lacking ako on the appreciation of it. However, it doesn't mean na hindi siya importante, no? Now, looking back, parang many of the things that contribute, for example, for human behavior can be attributed to that, no? To yung biological side. Pero ako lang minsan natutorn lang ako kasi parang ang feeling ko, it's too mechanical, it's too medical for me, or anatomical. So siguro later yung guest natin babasagin yung mga ganyang myths. And how do we get over those kasi
myths
ako
and misconceptions.
Hindi ko to tinuturo, hindi ko din siya gustong ituro at usually binibigyan ko ng teaching load na to, okay lang sa kanya na magturo nito. So parang for me, kung ako ang papipiliin mo na ituturo sa lahat ng mga dapat ituro natin, ng mga courses, ito yung hindi ko ituturo. Kasi, so lahat talaga. Kasi ang dami namin aalalahanin. Tapos, parang for me, kung wala kang microscope, for me lang to parang kung wala kang microscope, parang ang hirap makarelate, diba, sa mga ang hirap makarelate sa mga neurotransmitters, mga ganyan. Oo. So, nagbulahan tayo na nagbulahan. Sige. Bumati na muna tayo.
Bati-bati.
Meron tayo from Laguna State Polytechnic University in Santa Cruz campus. Meron din tayo from Nueva Vizcaya. Ayan. Ay, okay. Si Ellen Milan, sabi niya, good afternoon po. Ako rin po, walang biopsych nung panahon ko. Pagkabata tayo ni Ellen.
Does it mean, ma'am? Masyado kaming matanda. Kasi di ba recent
I didn't say that.
Mas matanda ako sa'yo.
Yes, oo. Ay, oo, mas matanda ka sa akin.
Oh my gosh, how did we survive each other?
I know, right? You're like my ate. You're like my big sister.
Oh my God, that's kind of gross.
Ipon lang tayo ng viewers habang hinihintay natin silang pumasok. Pero, yes, I think, baka yung definition nyo pa ng psychology, no? Scientific study of human and animal behavior. Walang and mental processes. Kasama pa yung animal, tapos wala pa yung mental processes. No, I'm not really sure when it was offered when I was in college or when it actually was started being offered in the undergrad. Perhaps yung viewers natin can enlighten us kasi ako hindi. Ay, si Abby, sabi niya, I had biopsych way back 2002 and 2005. See? Meron. Thank you, Abby.
Hindi na ako nakaapak sa ganung years. Medyo early.
Anong administration? Marcos administration ba? Magsaysay administration. Uy, feeling ko magsaysay administration.
Hindi naman.
Ino-offer na yung bachelor's degree nung panahon yun.
Oo. Yeah.
Oh my God, Ramos ka nag-college? My God, merong Estrada.
Ayan. Ang diva sabi niya. Diva Haji, sabi niya.
1997 meron na. Ramos administration na. Siya 92 yun. 1992 yun. Natapos si Ramos 98 kasi naging presidente si Erap.
Nasa middle ako noon. Yan.
Patapos ka na noon. Oo.
Basta tita na.
Yes. Kaya tayo tita psychologist. Hello tayo. Nabati na ba natin to from State University, Cabagan Campus? Hello po sa inyo. Hello din again for Rebecca Lanes. Hi from Bacolod City. Hello po. Meron tayo from our YouTube account. Watching from Catmalogan, Samar. Hello po sa inyo. From Cebu Technological University in Camotes, Cebu. Ayan, maayong...
beach doon.
Ay, hindi ako hindi ko siya. Nagpunta ako doon sa taas, ano bang tawag doon? Yung Camp Sawi, yan.
Okay.
Pero medyo...
Ayan na, nag-freeze na siya. Ayan, nag-freeze na ulit. So, ayan. Do we have other viewers? We have from... sino pa ba ang ating pwedeng i-greet this afternoon sa ating mga viewers? Please do share with your friends and your colleagues na hindi makapagpanood this afternoon. You can actually watch it again. Mamayang later, at a later date, if they're not busy anymore, you can watch it in YouTube and our Facebook page, of course. Ayan. Anong pangyayari? Anong meron? Ayan. Who else? We have other viewers from...
ayan, sorry kasi alam mo, nagkakaproblema.
From Pasig City. Ayan. Hello po, ma'am. Magandang hapon.
Ayan, maraming salamat. Okay, ang dami ko daw sinasabi, sabi ni Direk tumigil na ako. Okay.
Tumigil na tayo.
Dahil mahaba-haba na yung ating airtime, invite mo na, baka mawala na naman ako nito, no? Papasensya na po talaga kayo. Pero sige, introduce mo na yung ating guest speaker for this afternoon.
Okay. So, This afternoon, we're very happy to have our guest. We will talk about biological psychology. She is a full-time professor at the Department of Psychology in Silliman University. She finished her Bachelor of Science major in psychology and Master of Arts in Psychology major in Industrial Organizational Psychology at Silliman University. She later pursued Master of Humanities major in Women's Studies at St. Scholastica's College as a scholar of the United Board of Christian Higher Education. She took her Doctor of Philosophy in Research in Sports Psychology in Australia and as a recipient of the International Postgraduate Research Scholarship Award. For over 15 years, she has conducted a lot of researches on women's studies and sports psychology, trainer of various workshops on crisis intervention for victims of abuse, peace building, conflict transformation, body movement through playback theater and sports. Ayan. She is a registered psychologist and a certified industrial organizational psychologist in the Philippines. Please help us welcome Dr. Michele Joan Valbuena.
Hello! And we
Good
can call her,
afternoon.
yes, and you can call her Doc Bing. Ayan.
Yes.
Bing. Yeah, you can call me Bing.
Pag
Ayan.
nagtuturo ng biopsych, feeling ko dapat doctor talaga, yung buo-buo. Yung buo talagang doctor. Para, ganun yung level na, na-feel ko talaga.
Di
Kamusta
naman.
po? Where are you now?
It's okay.
Para
I'm
malaman
good.
natin.
I'm good. I'm in the house. Andito sa bahay. Hopefully,
That's
walang
in
problema.
Dumaguete. Tama ho ba?
With internet connection.
Ayun.
Monique?
Ayun. That's in Dumaguete. Doc Bing is in Dumaguete. Yan.
Ayan.
Yes, I'm in Dumaguete. Yes, that was what you were asking. Yes, I'm in
Dami
Dumaguete.
Silliman yan around. Ayan.
Yay! Okay. Uy, meron
Hopefully, may nanonood na from Silliman, ha?
Oo.
Yes, oo.
Nang fans.
proud.
Sinabi ko sa kanila, you have to watch, ha?
Yes.
Oh, Silliman yan, Rebecca
Ito din,
Lanez.
si Bernardo
Yes.
Fernandez. Sabi niya, nice to see you again po, Doc Bing. Ayan.
Hello!
Ayan, maraming salamat. Doc Bing, kayo po ba nitong nakaraang SEM, how was your experience teaching online or virtually? Or can you share to our viewers what happened? How did you feel when there were changes in terms of the delivery of instruction na nangyari nitong nakaraang SEM?
Well, initially, like what most people probably feel, no? Parang anxious ka. I actually thought if I would be able to make it, really teach online. Wala sigurong problema if, we made use of the public platforms that most people use. Pero we have our own LMS, eh. So we need to be able to learn how to use it. You have to be able to really navigate around it. So in the beginning, kasi all of a sudden, okay, we need to do online. So lahat ng materials mo, most of them in school, in books or whatever, because you have to really migrate them to our online platform. Yun yung very tiring talaga. So you have to type everything, you have to think about activities virtually. And then I actually thought to myself, my God, this is more tiring than the physical classroom. Parang ganun.
Oh, yan. Totoo.
And even a colleague of mine, we were like, ano ba to? This is really parang consuming a lot of our energy. Ako nga, kahit natutulog, feeling ko I was dreaming about the computer screen already. And then, after nun, relax na. Kasi everything's there na eh. And then you already got the hang of it and you've adjusted. So relax na rin. Now, I love it already very much. So parang, yeah, I love it already very much. And so excited to go into the first semester. So yun yung experience.
We hope that
It's
our
like
teachers
any
will be as excited
experience.
as you are.
Yes. I think every change naman talaga merong takot, may fear. Pero once you
Yeah.
dive into it, it becomes exciting. Although, meron pa rin
Yes.
takot, di ba? At the end of kasi we've been so sanay with all these traditional way of teaching
Mm.
and learning of that particular, parang yung iba, lalo na siguro dun sa mga masison na, no, kahit tulog sila, hindi na nila kailangan pang problemahin. But now, we are all forced to, sabi nga natin ni Doc Errol, in our second episode sa season 1, na parang, ito yung parang na-push tayo for an industrial revolution bigla. No? Na we need to rethink, reevaluate, recalibrate the things that we've been so used to doing. And then,
Yes, that's right.
ang maganda din, Doc B, yung sinabi mo na parang, uy, ngayon na-excite na ako. And I hope that the teachers are actually also excited then to do it. Sige.
Yes.
Okay. Monique, baka you have some questions while I excuse myself. Doc Bing, again, thank you so much for saying hi. I'll see you again later, but I'll
My
prepare
pleasure,
your
yes.
slides. Sige ba?
Okay.
Doc Bing, siguro a lot
Yes,
of teachers will be wondering, what is it about biological psychology that makes them so afraid or makes them hesitant to teach it? In your opinion, ano ho ba yun?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing as what you and Ver mentioned kanina, na parang siguro it's so technical, it's so biological, na kailangan biologist ka or medical doctor ka or in the physical sciences para you can know. Hindi naman kasi we're not expected kasi psychology teachers tayo. So we're not expected to know all the medical details about it. And siguro yung technicality lang, parang it's just like mathematics, na kung math na kahit very simple mathematical operation, kapag sinasabing numbers, automatically yung mga tao ayaw, di ba?
Yes,
And they're not able to process it in their head kasi anxious na sila, which is the same thing as yung biological psych. So, I think that's the reason why. And the problem, kung sa physical classroom, maraming ayaw, how much more yung online?
True.
Magkakaproblema talaga, di ba?
Schools po, Doc Bing, they attempt to do it, ang tawag nun, team teaching. There's like a medical teacher, a medical doctor na instructor, and then another instructor na psych person, no? So, pwede ho ba yung ganong arrangement? Is it possible?
I think so, and that's if the university allows that, yung team teaching, that's actually a lot better. So the students can get primarily the medical perspective, and then yung psychological perspective, then how you can actually put those together. What we did sa classes namin, or for example sa akin, if there is a specific topic that I feel like it's really good to have somebody, we invite people. Parang guests, lecturers, or guest speakers or resource person during the class. So yun, and then the students can learn from it, because in the beginning talaga, or in the first place, when students naman ask specific questions about medicine, for example, or physiology na out of our coverage area, I always tell them I'm not an expert on it, so maybe we can invite someone or we can research about it and we can all talk about it. Kasi alam mo naman yung mga estudyante, they have so many resources and masyaka na lang, they know more than you know. So yun, I think that's very, very nice.
It's a challenge for first-time teachers talaga to take on this course. So it's good that you are with us this afternoon to share some insights and some ideas on how to teach this virtually, no? I'm sure Vera is ready already. Yan. So take it away, Doc Bing.
All right. So I haven't taught biological psych recently. I taught this 3 times, I think, or 4 times a few years ago. And I don't know, unlike probably other people, I I was so excited to teach it kasi siguro dahil din ang background ko on science and math. And I enjoy something which is very technical.
Yeah.
And firstly din, kasi I actually really have the primary perspective in psychology, and especially nga I'm very interested sa neuropsychology. So that's why yung biopsych is something that really interests me, and I'm interested in yung physiological aspect ng psychology. That's why when I teach Psych 11, I enjoy the neurotransmitters part.
Yeah.
I spend a little bit more on that compared to other teachers. Kasi I feel din that the students need to understand it eh. So, kaya tumawa ko kanina nung sinabi ni Burke tungkol sa mga neurotransmitters or whatever. So, yun. So, like I said kanina na, siguro before anyone or any teacher can ask oneself if she or he can virtually teach biological psych, is to ask oneself kung komportable ka in the first place to really teach biological psych in the physical setting. So, okay, let's just say, yes, I want to teach biological psych. I have been teaching biological psych, but now that I need to transfer it to a virtual classroom, what can I do? Okay, so next slide, please. All right, so I just put there yung mga specific topics that go into the course, no? I think that in some other courses on biopsych, siguro yung iba doon put together na, yung iba separate, yung iba wala. Depende. But you can see how the terms themselves are actually intimidating already, no? Yung mga neuroscience, genetics, yung synaptic transmission, yung mga ganon na mga terms. But actually, when you look at the course content, we will all see how important biology is and how important it is for any psychology practitioner or any psychology teacher to understand the biological basis of human behavior. So yun. And ang question is, can we teach all of those topics online? Kasi yung iba sasabihin, mahirap kasi wala tayong yung siguro if you want to bring yung katawan ng, how do you call that? Or yung brain, whatever, we have that inside the brain talaga, di ba? And then you do like something like that. But actually, even before this COVID-19 pandemic, yung ganun, hindi na masyadong sa amin hindi na namin ginagamit most times. Bakit? Because of the internet, because of videos, because of 3D whatever, and we make use of them. So, and also, yung mga students namin, may biology department, they go there and then yung brain namin, I think it's older than I am. I don't know.
Model na yan, na parang play model or something. Oo, true. Yeah.
So when you pass it around, the students will like, this doesn't look like, the look of the model or the brain actually is not appealing to them. So alam mo naman yung mga bata ngayon, they like all the colors, so yun, we make use of yung other forms of yung mga ganon. So, yun nga. So, yung iba sasabihin siguro na, how can we teach that particular part, yung different parts of the brain, kung wala kaming ganon virtually? Kasi, well, there can be other stuff, no? There can be other ways of doing it. Pero yung iba sasabihin, so, if you're going to to do an exercise on the brain, how are you going to do that virtually? So yun yung mga questions and mga apprehensions about how to teach certain topics in biological psych. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so I will take this chance to explain, because I want to be able for people to understand why, for me, ako mismo, why I'm very already comfortable and at ease at teaching my psychology courses come first semester. No? In Silliman, and this is what I'm proud of about Silliman, is we all have our own learning management system, which we call SOUL. O, diba? Ganda ng pangalan, no? SOUL.
Sure. Galing.
Ano talaga, total well-being, no? Whatever. Anyway, we have our platform, and that's an example. If I have my page, so ako teacher, ako na Silliman, I have those courses. So I just click on any of those courses, and it gives me already everything about that particular course. So that's why it's easy for us. And we actually went to training for this. So for example, eto, yung next slide. Eto. So, and this we can talk about later using other platforms. We can pre-record lectures. Etong, the one I'm showing here is parang a welcome video for everybody because I don't usually use yung live video conferencing just to address any problems about internet connection, especially yung mga classes namin ngayon sa summer at saka mid-year, we have like 40 to 50 students. So when mag-video, parang hihina eh. So what is better is you can pre-record your lectures and then you can just play it during your class. So this is also something that we can do in our own platform. Next slide. Okay, so one of the resources we have is the big blue button, which is the same as Zoom, Meets. Okay, so this is something that we can use for a synchronous approach. So yun, live. Then there's chat box, exactly the same way as how the others use yung video conferencing apps. As I don't know if many people are familiar about Big Blue Button, but that's the same thing. So we use that for live classroom interaction. Next. Okay, and then we also have other tools. This one here is an open forum tool, which you can set as a teacher. So it is also synchronous in such a way that you can actually post something. So this is an example of the material self. You can post something and then you can tell them, you can ask a question, and then they can respond to that particular post. So you can actually see all of the students' responses, and you can interact from there. And those responses will stay in the page. Not similar to yung big blue button ka or mag-chat na once you're out, nawawala lahat, unless of course if you're going to save it. It's actually really there. And then you can also set na how to rate each particular question. So you can make it synchronous, meaning while you're doing the class, you actually ask them to do it. So para siyang seat work of some sort or something. And then they can enter their answers there. Next. Okay, this one, the one with the picture of a girl, parang dancing or whatever, that's the same thing. That's also the open forum, but you can choose to make it asynchronous. So you can put it on the page, and then you can tell students, you can answer this at your free time. You have until tomorrow or 2 days after to post your answer. So you can use it also for a synchronous approach. The other one is an assignment that you also post. So you can, if you want, you can attach a video for students to comment or react to. And then in the assignment, they can actually attach. So they can attach a document, or they can they can answer it inline text, kumbaga. So yun, again, yung assignment, you can do real time while you're having the class, or you can do yung assignment as homework they can do outside of class hours. Next slide, Monique. So, yun, yung mga tools namin doon, we can do both synchronous or asynchronous. So, I specifically put the basic senses, the sensory processes there, assignment yan, at saka, I think yung basic senses is reading that I uploaded for people to be able to download and read at their free time. So you can do that also. So everything is there. Kung may mga reading materials ka, just upload it there and then everybody can see it. They can download it and read during their free time outside of class hours. Tapos yung isa, sensory processes, yun yung assignment din, which is another example. Tapos may mga due date dyan, how many have answered, submitted, etc. Next slide. All right, so ito, gusto ko to kasi we have interactive content also. It's H5P ata, yung tawag nun. My God. Anyway, so this is a video I got from YouTube. So you attach that to the interactive content and then you can you can put something for people, for students to do. So yung example, what are branch-like structures of the neuron that receive information? You click on that and then the student will answer and then correct or wrong or whatever. So again, yung video na yan, that's from YouTube. I just copied it to the and then have students watch it. Next slide. Okay, so yun. That's basically how our LMS work in Silliman. And like I said, no, in order for the teacher to be able to know how to use it, the teacher has to go for training on it. Kung hindi naman, if you are tech savvy and you understand how these particular things work, you can actually study on your own. I actually just asked for a manual from our computer center, and I just read it myself. So when you understand how things work, you know how to do it already, and then you teach yourself by navigating. So how about schools? Kasi I know, if not all other schools in the Philippines, most of the schools in the Philippines, they do not have something like Soul. So what can we do? So I think most people naman know Zoom exists, there's Google Meet, there's Easy Talks, etc., etc., Blue Jeans, Jitsi, those are video conferencing tools in meeting people. And we also have the use of email, Facebook, Messenger. Ngayon, Messenger, I learned you can create breakout rooms then in Messenger already. So that can be used also for classroom. There's chat, there's, again, YouTube. YouTube has been very, very helpful in my classes and in my discussions. You actually have almost everything in YouTube. But have to know what to look for. You have to know what particular keywords to put in order to look for a particular video, for example, or video presentation that you need for your subject. Everything, lahat kinuha ko talaga sa YouTube And then yung TEDx lectures, marami dyan. Maraming very interesting talks about different things, about the world or about people, about community. So teachers can actually access them and look at what they can use. So other than, it doesn't necessarily, well, kung wala kayong Soul, for example, no? Or anything that you can just play the YouTube video and everybody sees it and watch it together at the same time, well, you can always just put the link and then say to the students, now you watch this now, and I'll give you this number of minutes. After this number of minutes, let's get back and then talk about, I have a question for you, and I need for you to answer that. Yung mga ganon. And email, of course, no, na if you need to email certain reading materials that can be used, although in the email, some emails might get lost in the way. Parang ano siya. So it's useful in a sense na if you just need to send them reading materials or any document, for example, for them to download, and okay lang yun. Pero in terms of interacting, mahirap kung gagawin sa email, especially kung marami yung students mo. Yung iba, I know yung ibang colleagues ko, they're using Messenger especially when we started using Soul, kahit sa amin sa last summer, yung ibang colleagues ko sinasabi, I'm using Messenger. So I'm asking, why are you using Messenger? We have Soul and everything's there, including chat. And then they said, kasi, sometimes kasi nagahang, ganito, ganyan, or whatever. So, alam mo naman yung internet connection natin dito. So yun, they use Messenger. I said, okay, so you use Messenger, what do you do? I create a group chat deck of your 50 students. Sabi niya, oo, believe ako sa'yo because you can manage. Ako, ayaw ko yun too many people in the group chat. You cannot train anymore unless if you have all the time in the world to go up and back read about everything people have put in or message you. So, but then there are people who actually are comfortable of using that. And maybe if you only have 5 or 10 students in a class, then you can always use Messenger. Kasi yung Messenger naman natin ngayon, you can upload anything there, almost anything there na, di ba? From documents to videos to images. So it's very, very useful also. So those are the different, I'm sure there are other tools that we can use online. And those are what I know are more common or most commonly used by people, especially yung Zoom at saka Google Meet. Yung Zoom din, a lot are using that kasi in terms of lecture and all of those. Pero yun na nga, everything has to be synchronous when you use Zoom. But if there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way. Yung ganon. Para kasi sa akin, I was also talking to a colleague, when we started doing this soul thing in the summer, yung April. So we were talking, sabi ko, grabe, it really makes you, makes you more creative. And you probably realize na, oh my God, I can think of these particular things and resources and creativity that I thought I wouldn't be able to think about before. And one of the things that I did realize and observed, the students are actually more interactive.
Online, virtually.
Online, because siguro in their head, I don't know if because it's something new and it's something that they like because it's online and they're excited about it. Even like, for example, I have 50 students, and then when I pose a question to them, they really make sure that they say something so that their presence is felt.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I mean, ako, from my teaching experience, that I didn't get from the physical classroom. Kasi, for example, if you have 40 or 50 students in a class, diba, sometimes may magdo-dominate or you don't have all the time in the world to entertain all of the whatever. Pero dito, they really do because I think they want to be felt by the teacher and that they're just not there and online and just doing nothing, that they are really paying attention. And another is, grabe yung mga interface outputs nila. Nasya-shock ako, honestly, kasi I didn't know all of the, even in Seoul, sabi ko, what is this? Sabi nila, ma'am, you can actually post a video in the forum or interface. Sabi ko, oh, really? I thought it's just going akala ko words lang yung pwede mong ilagay. Pwede pala kasi hindi ko na-realize. Kasi ang mindset ko, open forum. Yung open forum na mindset ko, yung open forum nating open forum, you can just talk or whatever. Because it's online, feeling ko, yung talking is in words. Pwede pala mga video, mga whatever. So yun, I was like, the students are very, very fast. And when I ask them to even come up with an output of a video presentation of something that I assign them to do, they're so good. And really, really very creative. And I think this, the one very good thing about doing this, we actually realize that our students are much smarter, much more creative, and much more resourceful than we think they are actually. So that's one of the things. Anyway, so yung next slide ko, ano yon? So what are the challenges? I mentioned some of those challenges already. Yun, internet connection. Kaya we have to be very flexible, and we have to be very considerate. So one very good example is siguro yung mindset din ng mga teachers, di ba? I'm guilty of that din eh. Yung first thought natin na etong estudyanteng to probably telling a lie. Yung ganon. So kung sasabihin ng student na, Ma'am, I wasn't able to take the quiz because we had a blackout. Or my internet connection is slow. Kasi yung quiz namin, I usually, firstly, yung quiz namin, I really did it during class hours na real time talaga. And then, I realized, you can set it sa amin. You can set our quizzes from this particular time to this particular time, one attempt lang. So, wala rin chance yung student na ano ng mga notes niya. Kasi one attempt lang eh. And you can also give them, you only have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to finish the quiz. So, you can actually open the quiz from 7 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock midnight or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So then they wouldn't have any problems just in case now during the class nagba-blackout or yung internet connection problemado. So yun, and one of my colleagues na naman, so we kept on talking to each other at that time ECQ pa, no? So parang we need each other to comfort each other. ECQ pa, hindi ka makakalabas, tapos eto pa yung new teaching tool. So one of my colleagues was saying na, may estudyante ako, sinabing ganito, hindi daw nakapag-take ng quiz kasi ganito, ganyan. Eh, ikaw, what do you think you would do? Sabi ko, well, there are two possibilities. One is, the student is lying. Second is, the student is telling the truth. Yeah. So, ikaw na teacher, what will you do? How would you know? And I said, well, ako, I would really just have to believe na our students are telling the truth. And anyway, that's just one quiz. There are so many other activities that you can give. Now, if that particular student is really like that in one quiz, he or she will do it again in another activity. So you can see the pattern na. And kasi totoo naman eh, yung isang colleague ko na yun, nag-brown out daw dito, ganito, ganyan. So I asked, from where ba yung bata? From Zamboanga del Norte. So sabi ko, really, that's true. Yung lugar na yon, anytime, mabablack-out talaga, walang so it's probably true. Sabi ko ganun. And then, you know, in physical classroom, it's the same thing din naman eh. You have the same, you actually encounter the same different kinds of behavior. So, it's up to you naman as teacher to ano. So, andyan yan eh. So, parang, no, just believe naman your students na ganito, ganyan. Kasi, I'm sure they're trying to learn also. And, you know, in the long run, sa kanila din consequence yan if they're not gonna be doing well, or if they're gonna be lying the entire time. Hindi naman ganon. So yun. So one example nga, sinabi ko, consistent yan eh. Sabi nila, kasi yung fear din na kasi online, yung ibang teachers, baka yung ibang students, ganito, ganyan, kasi online na, hindi na makikita ng teacher. Siguro, feeling ko, yung sense of control din ng teacher na challenge eh. So, hindi natin gusto yan. Kapag wala tayong masyadong control sa mga students natin, parang we don't feel good about it. I also observed na the way that the students performed and behaved in the physical classroom, because I had them in the physical classroom and I also had them online, nako, Monique, Very similar. So yung isang student ko, oh my God, where is, because I had a class na parang 10 lang sila. So namomonitor mo talaga kung sino yung pumapasok. Sabi ko, oh my God, this student, 30 minutes late sa online, it's the same thing yung sa physical classroom, nalilate din ng 30 minutes. So,
True.
sabi ko, ganun talaga. So what I'm saying is that yung however the person is, offline or online, that's most likely the same pattern of behavior. So I said, na as teachers, we shouldn't feel with our students because most of our students will really be doing well and will perform well and will behave well in our virtual classroom. So yun. And so what can we do? So I'll go acceptance muna of this particular modification of the educational classroom. So, yun yung sabi ko kanina na kung may resistance, and it's normal naman na every new thing may resistance tayo, di ba? Pero yun na nga, what choice do we have? Di ba?
Exactly.
Wala tayong choice talaga. Now, if you want, to be realistic about it, if you want to keep your job, you have to really learn how to do online teaching. That's for the teachers, for example. Yung parents naman, kasi kami dito, of course, problema talaga yung basic education din, di ba? So, yung mga parents din, sinasabi, bakit ganito? Bakit mag-online? Ganito, ganyan. So, sabi ko, anong option natin? We don't have any other option. The option is to do online classes or not hold classes at all, or do not send your children to school for like what, a year or something like that. So, yung mga ganon. And I think we need to be able then for people to realize, oo nga no, wala naman talaga tayong option.
Yeah.
And this is the best option we have. So, because this is our only option and the best option we have right now, then we have to be able to redirect our minds in terms or perspectives in terms of really accepting, okay, I have to accept that this is the new normal as a teacher. So what is the first step that I need to do? I have to try and learn about the different online platforms that I can use for my classes. So yun yung first Kasi yun na nga, di ba? Like any experience, kung may resistance, wala talaga. Yung utak mo, re-resist talaga yan. And everything else, hindi mag-work. So yun, that's very important. Firstly, again, no, we have to think as teachers, trabaho natin to, no? I think that in terms of social responsibility naman, hindi naman siguro when you say you want to be able to, you're a teacher because you want to be able to help in educating the community, hindi naman siguro may parang conditions yon dahil I can only do it in the physical classroom, ayaw ko na. Gagawin yan online. Yung isang colleague ko naman, kasi head siya ng isang center, tapos hindi naman sila yung, they're not the ones holding the classes, but they have a different function sa school. And so he kind of introduced now, why don't we do video of each personnel, ganito, ganyan. Sabi niya, naku, napakasakit sa ulo. Sabi ko, bakit? Kasi yung iba ayaw magpa-video. Sabi ko, bakit ayaw nila magpa-video? Tapos may nagsabi daw, jokingly lang daw, pero nairita daw siya. Sinabi pa sa akin, mag-resign na lang ako, parang ganon. Kung bakit ayaw nila magpa-video, siguro they don't want to see themselves. Yun siguro. Otherwise, I mean, they're very, talking to other people physically, pero once video na, parang ayaw nila, parang ganon. So, kasi technology yun na nga ayaw ng technology. So yun, acceptance lang. Kasi ako to be honest, yung soul namin has been there for a very long time already. I think more than 10 years. And we have always been encouraged to use that particular platform in our classes. But I never actually used it. I didn't even bother to learn about it. Why? Because yung mindset ko, why do I need it why do I use it when I don't need it? I can meet my students in the classroom. And then may group sa Facebook. If I need to announce anything for them, then I make that announcement in Facebook. So yun, because I was so comfortable with doing what I was doing. And then, COVID-19 pandemic happened. So I was forced to use Soul. And that's when I realized, uy, maganda pala to. Bakit hindi ko to ginamit before pa? So yung mga ganun. So may resistance at first. Ang dami ding beses we were encouraged to join the training. Sabi ko, ayaw ko. I don't need it. Yung resistance ko rin na I don't need to use it. And then, because I was forced to use it and learn it, and then I realized, uy, ang ganda nito. Kaya sabi ko kanina, ngayon, excited na ako to use it in the first sem. So yun, and we need to be able, mga psychology teachers tayo kaya natin to really change that perspective of resistance. And then, learn the technology. So, and then we have, like I said kanina, yung mga synchronous, asynchronous, very important. And kasi that's to address internet connection problems, yung power outage, yung mga ganon. May student nga kami last summer, student ng isang colleague ko, sinabi, Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm running late because I have to go 15 minutes to another house to get internet connection. Yung mga ganon ba? So, you have to be able to make those adjustments. It was kind of funny nga. One of my colleagues din dito, kasi nag-interview siya in another school, nag-interview siya ng mga psychology applicants, psychology major applicants. Then she was telling me, she screenshot yung yung interview niya kasi may mga 400 to 500 interviewees siya. Sabi ko, and you're going to interview them one by one? Sabi niya, oo, kasi required. So, and then screenshot niya, tingnan mo to, friend, kasi yung isang applicant, as in, pumatong ng kahon yung tree to get good connection. So, I mean, and these are students who want to go to school and they will do everything at this time to be able to go to school. May isa nga, nalaman ko na they really are coming from a poor family. So I asked her, because she's the one sending her younger sibling to school. I asked her, so how are you going to address now that everything's online? Well, we bought a second-hand laptop and we had to really spend for an internet connection para may magagawa siya in terms of classes this semester. So, and she said, those are things that we have to prioritize now kasi need na siya . So sa akin din, iniisip ko, etong mga estudyante will find ways to be able to go to school. Tayong mga teachers, kailangan din to find ways to be able to facilitate learning for them. So, kailangan yun. Anyway,
so, Doc Bing, paano yan? So, if I'm a biological psych teacher, and then I have all these, kanina you flashed the contents, no? Ang daming content ng biopsych or physio-psych. So, how do I decide if I'm going to teach this subject, which particular course content am I going to choose so that I'm going to make sure that my students will have a full grasp of the course, considering that I have synchronous and asynchronous na modalities.
Oo. Siguro kailangan natin tingnan. Kasi for example, in Psych 11, we talk about neural transmission already or synaptic transmission. So, for example, when you go to biopsych, you don't need to dwell so much on that because you have to look at all the other basic courses na nakuha na. So, yung biopsych is actually a higher level of course. So, doon na sa mga hindi na-take sa basic courses, yun yung i-discuss natin, di ba? Pero of course, for example, brain damage and neuroplasty, we don't need to talk about that in more detail. So just generally talk about how does brain damage actually influence behavior of individuals. And kung may brain damage or neural damage, what can be done? Kung may nagawang neuroplasty, would that really totally fix the behavior of or behavioral problems of the person or hindi or whatever? So those are discussion points. For example, sleep, dreaming, and circadian rhythm. We talk about that in Psych 11. And I think one of the things that although we have a basic course content for Psych 11, and the department should be able to talk to each other about, okay, what particular details do we need to talk about in sleep, dreaming, and circadian rhythm in Psych 11. And as a biopsych teacher, you know about that, so you don't need to dwell much on that. And you talk about something else that is related to that is not taken in the basic courses. So yun, I think...
So top 5 recommended topics. What would those topics be?
Okay.
Para
Genetics.
ma-guide ang ating mga teachers. And usually, we have to take into consideration as well, what do students enjoy the most based on your experience po? Siyempre, I think it would be hormones and sex.
Yes, but a lot of teachers don't wanna teach that.
But yung top 5 niyo po na suggestion for our teachers.
So yun, hormones and sex. Hormones and sex, yung genetics, of course, really something that what interests me. Yung neural conduction and synaptic transmission, if that can be discussed at a higher level, kasi they have to understand yung basic functioning of biology. Tapos, of course, importante yung research methods, no? How to do research in the context of biopsych. So, yun. Tapos, yung biopsych nga of psychiatric disorders, maybe for me, siguro you can choose to teach it or not. Kasi we have abnormal psych, and I think a portion of abnormal psych talks about that. So, hindi na. So, kaya nga sinabi ko na we need to be able to look at all the other courses na taken up na, and then yung hindi masyadong ma-discuss, we need to be able to discuss more in biopsych. So yun, neural, hormones and sex, tas yung emotion, stress and health, biopsychology of emotion, stress and health. Not very sure ako sa maybe drug addiction and the brain, because I don't know if there's a specific course that primarily just teaches that. So that also. This hunger, eating, and health. This really be able to understand about the neuroscience and neuropsychology or the brain, how that's important to understand about human behavior. So yun.
Okay. So let's recap for our viewers. Syempre, ang number 1, research methods and biopsychology. I think that's what you mentioned po.
Yes, kasi kasi sinasabi hindi nila alam paano gawin yun eh.
Okay, and then you have, do we need to talk about hunger, eating, and health?
Yes, especially now, body image and all of those, maraming mga ano.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And then emotions.
Yung emotions, stress, and health.
Yeah. And then you have your drug addiction and the brain. So those are your 5 non-negotiables.
Yes.
Kasi yung learning, memory, and amnesias, pwede siya makakover ng cognitive psych, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And abnormal psych in some areas, no? So I think you would agree as well, Doc, that you have to discuss among your colleagues so that para ma-balance out nyo na, sige, hindi ko na to i-cover kasi mas may impact pag na i-cover sa abnormal psych yung ganitong area. Kasi 2 to 4, nag-overlap naman talaga yung ibang course content sa ibang subjects.
Yes.
Ayun. Okay. Siguro we will informally ask our viewers, baka merong ano ba yung pinaka-favorite nilang i-teach na content sa biopsych? Ayun. At yung pinaka-favorite at saka yung pinakakatakutan yung na ituturo na content, no? Ikaw ba, Doc Ling? Meron ka ba ayaw na i-teach na content sa biopsych?
hindi naman ayaw na ayaw. So siguro, parang hindi ako masyadong comfortable because of some lack of knowledge about it. Siguro yung biopsychology of psychiatric disorders. Yung yun. So kasi parang hindi ko alam yun eh. But all the others, you can study them. So many reading materials for that. So,
Okay. So, we move on to our the point that we were making earlier about adjusting, and the next slide would be Doc Fair. Ayan. I'm sure our viewers would be having a lot of insights based on this. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So how do you feel about online classrooms? Yun. So, it also talks about what I talked about na kanina, no?
Okay.
Yung
True.
ganon. Just like yesterday. Kasi yung nag-vlog, sabi ko, tapos,
Nag-drown out.
baliktad, tapos nag-vlog ako naman, yung ganon. So, I was the same thing in the
It's
classroom.
good that we need to plan our courses na hindi siya
Yes.
purely synchronous, and if ever mayroong synchronous na content, we have a plan B. Yon, yung suggestion natin.
Yeah.
If hindi sila makapag meet on that particular time, you should have an alternative for them, because yun nga yung ina-address ng ating schools, no, not just Silliman, but I think in all universities and colleges, that we have to be compassionate at this point, no, sa ating mga students, given the varying realities that they have.
Yes.
Ayan, so sa baba, for the guidance of our teachers, eto yung top 5 na non-negotiables ni Doc Bing sa biological psych. Ayan. So, give them time to screenshot it, if ever, and they can go back to it on a later time. Okay, moving on.
Yun, very important to ask ourselves as teachers, are you willing and are you ready? So, kailangan confident tayo kasi you know what? The students can smell the confidence level even in online classrooms. So, they know. So, if they feel like
earlier po you suggested that we utilize and maximize the use of YouTube. And it takes a while, di ba po, Doc Wing, to research what videos are appropriate for what particular topic, di ba?
Yeah.
Hindi naman kailangan lahat. So ikaw rin, dapat panoorin mo rin lahat and do your own
Yes,
research.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's really...
Which is the same, primarily the same amount of preparation that you do when you do physical classes, di ba? Unless if you've been teaching that for a very long time. Pero the first time that you teach a course, yung preparation time mo din mataas. So, the same lang, yeah. You have to watch it.
We're having this webisodes for everyone, no? Hindi naman ang aming mga guests, hindi naman talaga expert, no? They're just sharing to us what they have learned, and probably can get ideas on how you translate it into your own campuses or universities, because it's very important that we help each other at this point, because this is a new reality that we're not actually very prepared for. Before, wala kang internet connection. Ngayon, you have to find an internet connection, magpapa-install ka, you have to buy certain gadgets that have certain what do you call this? Yung capacity, di ba? Yung mga ganun yung considerations, so that we can make sure that we deliver as well, at hindi natin shortchange ang ating mga students. Okay. And
yes, I agree. So yun. Tapos, yung last slide, hindi pala, second to the last. So yun, kailangan yun, di ba? Psychology teachers, dapat alam natin yun. Positive, I'm ready. Tapos yung last slide, pinaka-importante, kasi online tayo. If ever you do it naman at home, siguro yung half, whatever, you're not gonna fix yourself anymore as much as you do when you do physical classroom. Para sa akin, it's important that you also, think na I'm going into the classroom and my students are going to see me. So I have to be able to fix myself and really feel good about what I'm wearing, etc. Kasi ano din yan sa confidence level natin. So that's also part of being ready. So yun lang. And ano yung
Okay.
questions at saka we'll just address them.
Pero, ayan. Ayan.
Ano naman
Oh,
ako.
nakamute ka,
Sorry,
dear. Ayan.
ata ako. Pasensya na. Thank you so much, Doc Bill. Yay!
You're welcome.
Maraming
I hope
salamat.
I helped.
Yes. Ako may questions lang ako. For example, direct pa-show nga ulit ako nung kasi kunwari kung ako lang ay magtuturo, ganyan. Pa-show nga ako nung mga topics. How did you, ayan, natabunan na naman si Monique. Okay. So sabi niyo, neural conduction and synaptic transmission. What would be your recommendation on how we can teach this siguro? These topics, yung 5. Siguro maganda din, kasi kung, again, yung katulad ng sinabi ni Doc Mark last time, no, na in the event, darating din naman talaga tayo sa punto na hopefully, babalik tayo sa classroom setup. So, siguro maganda din tong balikan ulit tong webisode na to. But siguro my question is, how were you teaching these topics before? What were your strategies or what were your materials?
Activities.
And then, ngayon na online, what would you recommend siguro for our viewers as well? So, simulan natin kunwari, neural conduction and synaptic transmission. Ayan.
So, you can actually, you have all the images, tapos may mga video din na this is how they do it, whatever, drawing, and all of those. So, that's what I did before. And then, of course,
Dito
yung
ba,
mga
Doc, yung neurotransmitters ba yan, yung dinidiscuss dyan? Tama ba?
Yeah.
Wala.
Yes.
Hindi ko alam.
Yung kanina na pinakita kong picture, neurotransmitter yon. So, yun. So, yung and then, and kasi din, a lot of our students then went through this na din basically sa biology classes nila. But anyway, so yun. And in the physical setup, you can choose to draw it on the whiteboard, blackboard, or you have a picture to yung ganon, whatever. And then, or may mga video. Pero noon, hindi ko ni-utilize yung mga video as much as I could because, I could draw it or whatever. Ngayon, there's a lot in YouTube.
Yes.
And so you can use the YouTube videos to illustrate neural conduction, for example, and synaptic transmission. And you can also...
I remember po, Doc Wing, kasi para ma-excite yung mga students, if I'm going to talk about this very boring part ng Psych 11, I put it in the context of love. Pag may love yung isang tao, di ba? Ano yung mga neurochemicals na na-activate? Ayun, di ba? So it makes them parang, so it's not as, boring or like monotone as they would think, no? But if you link it up with how they feel, for example, when they're in love or when they're watching a horror movie, what's going on, or if they're eating something very delicious, what happens in their brain, whatever, what do you call that? Neurochemicals, tama ho ba?
Oh, yun na yun sa hormones din.
Sa hormones, yun.
Kasi yung mga specific neurotransmitters, yes, and hormones, functions ng hormones. So, yeah, that's right. And exactly what you said, no, yung mga love experiences or kung mag-break up, yung mga ganon.
Yes.
So,
dopamine levels, serotonin. Tama ho ba? Oh my gosh, yes. Alam ko pa.
So yung mga ganon, tas insomnia, tas i-relate mo yung insomnia to kasi may heartbroken ka, kaya nai-insomnia ka, bakit ka nai-insomnia? Kasi kung heartbroken ka, ito yung mga hormones, etc. Yung mga ganon. And then you get the attention. And yeah, you're right about that. So yun, those are, which are things that you can do at the physical classroom and things you can also do online. So yung mga situations na ganon. So yun. And then, similar to the others, ang ano lang dyan, parang very technical yung research methods na. Although, again, you can always just say, if you have a topic about relationship, what would your specific topic be in relation to, for example, synaptic transmission, yung ganon. Diba? So, research methods na. So, it doesn't have to be like really yung mga boring yung mga concern na, ang tendency kasi utak natin kung ano yung gusto natin, hindi natin maisip kung ano yung experiences ng mga bata. So yun, yeah, yung mga ganun. And then also I give for example ngayon, I use COVID-19 experience to relate to certain discussions we have in the class. So, for example, yung managing and self-care, for example, yung stress health, in relation to COVID-19, in relation to planting, in relation to, all of those things that people are doing during the pandemic or ECQ, yung ganon. Drug addiction in relation to, for example, what is the probability ng drug addiction during ECQ, yung mga situational, current situations, I usually use them in relation to those. So they can also understand na itong mga experience na to has biological basis.
Yeah.
Diba? So they can understand that. So yun.
Dok, Ding, mahilig ka bang magpa-readings, ganyan, or journal articles? Kung meron man,
pero
perhaps,
ano
kaya yung mga titles noon para we can also share, baka itong article na ganda, baka meron kayong recommended readings, ganyan, or books, perhaps?
yung materials that I used before, it's really resources from many. I didn't use a specific one textbook. And usually nga, mga reading, because it's college, I do choose journal articles to, give them perspective about really research writing. But alam mo naman, walang colors sa journal articles. So, hindi masyadong ma-catch yung attention nila, no? Parang matagal mo yung discussion about how you should appreciate yung mga numbers sa mga journal. Anyway, so what I use Time Magazine. I use Psychology Today magazines. Kailangan nila ng pictures And I use blogs also of people, especially those people that they know of, and current situations. That's yung mga documentaries I know that would be interesting to them. For example, yung documentary about marijuana talaga. I actually really talk about that. And yung mga ganon, different stuff. And kailangan colors to get their attention right now.
So this is a really unique course that you really need to step up with all the visuals and learning materials, so that hindi siya masyadong it can be really too technical for some people's taste.
Yes. Before I used yung Discovery na magazine, marami dyan There's so many there that you can use actually in your classes. There's National Geographic also. Kasi nabobore yung mga students sa textbook.
Right.
To be honest.
I know. I so know. Yes.
So kailangan isa-supplement mo ng mga ganon.
Correct. But before, kasi like in my experience, what we did was medyo challenging yun. And I think, alam to ni Dr. Melgar, I would always tell her this, na parang there were times na iba yung dinidiscuss in class. for example, mas current events, mas application as compared to the reading. So like the readings are there. For example, these are the different neurons and the neurotransmitters. But we discuss it in terms, we don't discuss those things in class because it's just repeating the same thing. But rather we talk about how it's applied already in the So siguro Doc Bing, yung isa din na perhaps one of the questions that our viewers are thinking, ano kaya yung magaganda namang output or outcomes or projects that you require? Kasi baka, yun din yung tanong nila. So, kunwari, direct pakita natin ulit yung kunwari, madali yung sex and hindi naman madali. Pero, sorry, hindi siya madali.
Yan.
Online?
Yes. Or before, like in offline, what were your projects for these topics? Or what would be your assessments? And then, na yun kaya online, how would you plan to do it? Or what was your experience before?
Before, so to entertain the students. One example, I had them do some role playing. So, for example, you are neurotransmitters. What kinds of neurotransmitters are you? So, how are you going to demonstrate that in a role play? So, that's one example that I did with them. Para gaganahan talaga sila. Second, mga video presentation or anything creative that they can come up with. So online naman, you can still do that. So if you need for them to do something physically, so for example, I was even thinking, teachers can use TikTok.
Okay. Yeah.
They can use TikTok, okay, and then they will tell their students to submit this or whatever. So that's their work. So in TikTok, for example, if you are this part of the brain, how would you function in a particular situation such as this? So they're going to, demonstrate it using their body. And then if you want, as teacher, after that, you can ask them a question. What did you mean about how you demonstrated and explain, etc., etc. So that way, the students are actually, especially in this ECQ time, the students can be active also and creative, and they like that. So there's movement. So that's another example, and they can video themselves and then give it. Yun na nga yung TikTok kasi yun yung sa mga tao ngayon.
Yun din sinasuggest ni diba? Ni Rian kahapon to maximize the use of all these platforms.
Pero being si Tita Monique kasi hindi niya masyadong alam yung TikTok. Hindi niya alam yan. So for our viewers na tulad ni Tita Monique, TikTok is an application where you have videos, very, very short videos actually. So for example, I'm thinking tuloy, how do you now, for example, kasi you need to really think about what you're going to say. Unlike this one, diba, parang there's time for, parang may dead air, pwede kang magkaroon ng dead air kasi you're still thinking. For vlogs, you can edit it. For TikTok, it's just a few minutes, or just a minute, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, sa mga nagtitiktok.
Hindi ko alam.
Sabi ko na So doon sa mga nagti-TikTok, parang it's a minute or I think 3 minutes, pero you have a certain level of subscribers or viewers. And you really have to make it concise. No? So kunwari, if you're, ako iniisip ko kung ituturo ko to, anong project, kunwari, how do I know if the students were able to know what the different neurotransmitters are? Parang in a TikTok video, how do you explain it? Diba? If I remember, Monique, no, si Professor Manalastas, Eric Manalastas, who was the co-chair before of LGBT psychology.
The chair.
SIG. Before ang pinapagawa naman niya for research, if I remember correctly, sorry sa site kita, Eric, para yung research, he teaches research pero using Twitter kasi it helps students limit their titles, for example, or how they expound. So parang parang napipilitan ngayon yung bata isipin, learn how to edit it without really blabbering a lot of stuff. And then you go straight to the point. No? So it helps also in terms of data kasi mas mabilis. Yung information mas mabilis. And then it's also easier for us teachers to check. Kasi kahit pa paano, you just have to look at 1 minute. Kasi kung papagawa sila ng documentary na 10 minutes, my gosh, naubos na yung oras na ating lahat yun.
Right.
I remember nung nagtuturo ako ng Psych 11, Psych 10 sa amin kasi sa UP, Psych 11 sa ibang schools. I have them make a brain hat. Like, there's like a parang pattern sa online and then they just have to color it based on like, they love to write. So, anong areas of the brain are stronger or depende sa color. So, they're really creative. They put feathers. Parang nagiging parang costume na siya. So, they have fun with that. They can still do that online. They can wear their brain hats and then demonstrate it. Hindi kailangan ng TikTok.
Pero mas masaya pag may TikTok.
Oh, yes. Exactly. Tapos yung TikTok din limited. Yung mga students, kahit sinasabi mo, 1 minute lang, yung iba, 3 minutes to 5 minutes.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, and they like it better.
I think there's a certain level of privacy din kasi with TikTok eh. Parang your subscribers, parang pwede siyang you can allow them to subscribe to you. So it doesn't have to be public for those who are medyo iffy about privacy setting. No? And then they can delete it naman afterwards if you know, you don't want something silly to be posted. Pero siguro, I guess, challenge din yun as psychologists, no? And as students, to be very careful about what we post. So they would need to think twice whether posting something that is factual. Kasi kung factual naman siya, then you don't have to worry about being bashed, perhaps. No? Pero siguro yung creative output lang. Sige, may comment tayo from Rebecca Lanes. May share siya sa atin. Okay. Ay, nawala na si Monique. Ayan, Monique, accept ka pa ng konti. There you go. Okay, sabi niya, I think one effective approach would be contextualized teaching. Sabi niya, just my term, but I think we agree on that. Students share or present about an interesting, significant personal experience they had, the particular behaviors they observe in that situation, and explain the behaviors based on the biological factors, elements, process. No, magandang idea yon kasi it's something personal, something that they would remember. It's something contextual because it's based on that particular, let's say, research or particular topic in the book. Yan. And then they're able to explain it. So parang natutuhog din niya yung ating mga ano. So for some of our viewers, baka meron pa kayong iba pang ideas. Again, the reason that we're doing, sorry, lumipat ako ng laptop kaya iba yung pangalan ko. Oo nga. Yung pangalan ko, hindi ko na na-change. But anyway, I think what we can do then is, again, we do all these webisodes. Lagi tayong may disclaimer that our guests are not, they do not claim to be experts in teaching these subjects online. We are very grateful that they're sharing their experiences as well. But also, this is a platform for everyone to share din. No? So, kahit natapos na yung video, you can still post.
Yes.
Let's all discuss pa rin. Share your ideas, your suggestions. Kasi some of our viewers, they're not here naman live. No? So, they'll be able to read the comments.
Yes.
Yeah, get more ideas as well. And then let's keep the conversation offline as well. So baka may mga questions kayo like si Rebecca Lanes kanina, may sinuggest siya na iba pang activities or a way then on how other teachers can look at teaching not just biological psychology siguro, Doc Bing, ano? But can also be applied in other psychology courses.
Yes.
Exactly. Sige. Monique, baka meron pa tayong questions.
Merong comment but galing kay Jarrell Adlawan. I don't know if you can find it direct.
Okay.
Challenging to teach this topic, neural conduction and synaptic transmission. Ayan.
Oo.
The nosebleed na tayo.
Oo, ano daw yun? Oo.
Ano daw yun?
Oo, oo.
Yes, it
Ayan,
is very challenging. Pero you don't need to be really going into the very details about it. Yung mga whatever, yung mga ions and all of those. But well, if you want to, then you can. But the students get that in their biology subjects na eh. So you can talk about it and then diretso relate it to human behavior. So generally lang you can so yeah.
In a way,
I don't know.
kailangan natin i-highlight,
Kasi,
no? Kailangan na lang natin i-make sure that you put it in context in terms of not focusing too much on the parts, biological parts and nitty-gritty, but to how we can relate it to psychology and how psychological constructs or experiences are actually biologically based, no? So I think
Yeah.
I remember Sir Mark Reyes even mentioned this na even in ABPSych, importante i-highlight yung biological foundations, no?
Exactly.
Of
Right.
eto rin ang ating avid viewer. Merong comment? Si Ma'am Rebecca Lanes added that. Direct, meron ba dyan? Ayan.
Ayan, matatakpan ka na naman kasi. Oo, one relevant topic would be trauma and biological psychology. Yeah. Very, very interesting as well. Yan, ano.
Ayan.
I think we
Yeah, and
also
that
need
can
to
be
go back
covered.
to...
That can be covered in the
Go ahead.
stress emotions.
Yeah, okay.
Kasi
Oo.
when we talk about trauma and biopsychology, higher level na yun eh. Kasi yung trauma, you need to understand about that in more detail also. So yun na, may brain damage na doon, possible may brain damage na, yung mga ganun. So may mga specific ano doon. So but in biopsych, you can have an overview about it, and I think it can be incorporated yung sa emotion, stress, and health doon.
Okay.
That's right. I think yung ano din, kasi di ba kanina napag-usapan natin that this is a very challenging because it's very technical. But siguro ang masasuggest din natin sa ating mga viewers, sa ating mga psychology professors who will be teaching biopsych, is again, our role here are facilitators of learning, no? So kung nahihirapan ka na magturo, at least at the very least, you should be comfortable in facilitating how they would learn. Pwede naman kasing sabay tayong nag-journey together, no? Kunwari, kung ako yung magtuturo, parang, sige nga, paano ko ba to din Kasi kung ayaw ko talaga siya, o kung ayaw ko siya, hindi ko siya masyadong feel, lalabas at lalabas yun sa performance natin as teachers.
Yeah.
True. Diba? So, siguro, for us then, we should have an open mind as well. How do we now facilitate this type of appreciation and learning? Tama yung sinabi ni Doc Bing kanina. How do we now facilitate learning? And then tayo din, para din ba tayo natututo? Ano ba yung mga interests din natin as teachers in biological psychology, no? Or what do we find very challenging? So siguro a point of reflection din yon to some of our teachers who are mabibigyan ng load na ayaw nila, lalo na kung biopsych. Paano ko ba paano ko ito magugustuhan? Paano ko mafa-facilitate to na magugustuhan din? And then you continue the journey. Siguro maganda lang din kasi hindi to board exam subject, no? So, pero medyo lugi kasi 3 unit subject lang to eh. Parang hindi ko pag science, hardcore science, dapat 5 units, di ba? Kasi parang ang dami pwedeng pag-usapan.
But like Doc Bing said, hindi mo na kailangan to go into the nitty-gritty details given the reality that we're in. We need to refocus.
Hindi yun expertise mo na eh.
Exactly. So don't be intimidated too much. Sabi ni Kay Ventura nga, sasakit na daw ang ulo niya sa kaka-explain ng specific parts.
Oo. So, baka dahil doon, wag ikaw ang mag-explain.
Exactly, I was about to say.
Yes. para hindi sumakit ang ulo mo. So, siguro, sige, Doc Bing, what were you about to say? Sige, go.
Suggestion, yeah.
Yeah, you can give that to the students and as an activity, and then they assign them something and then they explain. So, yun.
And
So
it
as
can be in
teacher, kasi
any
sabi
creative
ni
form.
na facilitate, yeah.
Oo,
They know so
so,
much eh.
correct.
Yung mga
Facilitate
bata.
natin. Oo. Or siguro, ang role natin as facilitators, give them areas where they can start with, kunwari website with which we think are credible enough. Ask them to search for that particular brain part. And then, ako feeling ko nga, mas madali ang gawin mo, maghanap ka ng fake news about this. Sila, di ba? Para also the students
Interesting,
are able
yeah.
not
Right.
to anong mahanap mong fake news about this particular brain part. Di ba? Kasi for sure, ang lalabas yan, dahil biological yan, for sure maraming factual talaga dyan. Hindi yan parang hindi as controversial as the other courses. No? So siguro yun. Yeah, and then you can discuss, pose it as a question. No? Ano yung mga misconceptions? Again, as facilitators, it doesn't have to be us always explaining yung particular topic na yon. You can have them as facilitators. Let's look for a reference material, a site, a website perhaps, and then ask them to search for it on their own. Because it also teaches them independent learning as well. Kasi pagdating naman natin, Doc Bing, alam mo naman to, no? So, pagdating naman natin sa pagtatrabaho, yung iba, aaralin talaga natin yan on our own. Hindi ba? Especially for grad school, if a psychologist, you have to search for it. Hindi yan pwedeng ituro, no? Na meron lang transfer of knowledge, but creation of knowledge.
Ferha, I'd like to really emphasize na yung mga bata alam ng marami. Marami silang alam. They know so much. They just don't say anything in the classroom. But when you give them a chance to say something, you get surprised. Marami silang alam na hindi mo alam. Actually.
Correct.
So, yun.
Si Tita Monique na hindi
That's
alam
why,
yung TikTok.
give them something.
Si Tita Monique hindi alam yung TikTok. So, guys, yung mga students ni Ma'am Monique, turuan niyo siya mag-TikTok.
Wala pa siyang biopsych eh.
Ay, kahit hindi na po biopsych nila. Baby steps, Doc Bing.
So, yun.
Steps. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Doc Bing. Thank you so much. This is a very enriching discussion, and thank you for your insights and
You're
inputs.
welcome. My pleasure. I hope I helped.
Yes, of course.
For sure. But before we let you go, meron lang mga konting reminders si Miss Monique. Si Monique para sa ating mga viewers. Monique?
Okay, sure. So we're done for the week and we're ready for next week. On July 28th, we have social psychology with our dear friends from Social Psychology Division of PAP, Professor Diwa Quinones and Professor Darren Dumaop. They will discuss social psychology with us. And on the 29th, we have also our friends, Professor Pat Datul Ramirez and Professor Ryan Torrejos, who will discuss with us, chikahan ito, on how to virtually teach Introduction to Psychology. And the last episode for season 2, how to virtually teach psychology
But not the least.
way. Ayan. By yours truly. So to close the season, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc Bing. Doc Bing, baka you have guestings, something that you would like to promote from your end?
Sports Psychology SIG.
Wala lang. Psychology. And then, currently, we're having our first full online psychology of coaching. 2 weeks. So, yes, it's really a class.
Oh, okay.
This is by Silliman University.
Okay.
But yung facilitators natin, si Mona Maghanoy of UP at saka si Naira or Beta ng De La Salle University. So we finished the first week yesterday. So the second week is starting Monday. So, and then we're probably gonna have batch 2, 3, 4, hopefully. So watch out for that for anyone who would be interested. So
Where
yun.
would we be able to get more details about this, Doc Bing?
We will post it. Kasi it's really a class. So we have 50 people in the class now. And we will post yung sa page namin, yung sport and exercise psychology. I also post it in my page. Just yung mga colleagues ko, they also post it in their page. Many have already asked for batch 2. So we will see how it will go after we do the batch 1. So yun yung ipa-plug ko muna ngayon from the special interest group ng sport and exercise psych. So congratulations sa inyo ha, teaching psych. Grabe. Believe ako sa trabaho niyo at this time ha.
Oo, kasi beyond
Beyond the call of duty.
Yes, oo. Kailangan talaga
Thank you very much.
magtulungan.
Thank
So,
you.
So visit for Sports and Exercise Psychology, SIG,
Yes.
Facebook page. Yes.
Oo,
Ayan.
yan. Maraming salamat, Doc Bing.
Thank you
to
so
our
much.
viewers
You're
for this
welcome.
afternoon, Maraming salamat. Join us again next week only here on Teaching Psychology,
Teaching Psychology, SIG TV.
Bye!
Bye. Take
Right.
care.
Bye. Thank you.